Hello, viewers. I hope you are watching my videos regarding different topics of chemistry. Now, I have another topic today for you people, that is the ionic bonds and covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are the strong electrostatic forces of attraction between positive and negative ions. Metal form positive ions, cations, non-metal forms negative ions, anions. Ionic compounds, compounds that contain ionic bonds are called ionic compounds. Now we'll study formation of ionic compounds. Example number 1 is ionic compound in sodium chloride. I have written its formula on the top, NaCl. Na stands for sodium and Cl stands for chlorine. Now as you can see, formation of ions, I have drawn formation of ions. Sodium ion, it's a positive ion. Chlorine ion, it's a negative ion. Now you can see that sodium atom, which will form an ion, it has one electron in its outermost shell, 281. It will lose this electron and will give this electron to chlorine atom, which will form a chlorine ion by gaining this electron from sodium. On the right side of the arrow, I have drawn the ions in the square brackets as they have charges, and I have shown their complete dot and cross structures. Now these two ions, sodium and chloride ion, are held together by electrostatic attractions. Now there's another example, that is of magnesium chloride, formation of magnesium 2 magnesium chloride ions. Now first of all, magnesium, it will lose two electrons as it has two electrons in its outermost shell and will form two positive, whereas chlorine, each chlorine has 7 electron in their outermost shell, so they will require 1 electron each to complete their octets. So magnesium is going to lose 2 electrons as it is drawn in the center, and on its right side there are chloride ions with uni-negative charges on them. There is one thing to see, that is, in a neutral molecule the positive and negative charges are equal. So in magnesium chloride you can see that 2 positive charge is shared between 2 chloride ions, so 2 negative and 2 positive. Now with these formations they complete their octets and form a compound. Now we have some more examples which are shown in following table. You see here only outer shells are drawn. You need to draw inner shells only when mentioned. In this table, compounds are potassium fluoride, lithium chloride, magnesium oxide, calcium chloride, and potassium oxide. Now you must see the differences between them. Above 3, you can see potassium has 1 electron to lose, fluorine will gain 1 electron, so 1 atom each. Same is the case with lithium and chloride, magnesium and oxide. Magnesium loses 2 electrons and oxygen gains 2 electrons. Now in the second example, calcium chloride, calcium loses 2 electrons and each chlorine atom needs 1 electron each. So in order to adjust 2 electrons of calcium, we need 2 chloride ions. So its formula becomes CaCl2. Then we have potassium oxide. Now potassium has 1 electron in its outermost shell, whereas oxygen needs 2 electrons. So in order to complete the deficiency of 2 electrons, we need 2 potassium ions. Therefore, each potassium ion loses 1 electron, so it becomes 2 electrons, and oxygen will gain these 2 electrons and form a compound. So we will write in the formula K2O, because K atoms are 2, and above 1 calcium chloride, calcium atom is 1 and Cl atom are 2. Now we come to the formation of covalent bonds. A covalent bond is formed by the sharing of electrons between two atoms. Covalent bonds are formed between non-metals. When atoms combine with sharing of electrons, molecules are formed. Covalent bonds are formed between same elements and between different elements. Now we study all of these one by one. First of all, we'll study formation of bonds between same elements. First of all, it is hydrogen molecule. As you can see, I have drawn their dot and cross structures. Hydrogen atom, each hydrogen atom, one electron in its outermost shell, and it needs one more to complete its duplet. So each atom shares its outer electron with one another, forming a single bond. I have written the equation. Hydrogen plus hydrogen forms H2 molecule. Then it's a dot and cross structure. You can see I have drawn dot and cross between two hydrogen atoms. Note, one pair of electron is shared, which is denoted by a single line. Now we look at the formation of chlorine molecule. Chlorine, it has 7 electrons in its valence shell. I have drawn two chlorine atoms. Each has 7 electrons in its outermost shell, and it needs one electron to complete its octet. So on the right hand side, I have drawn two chlorine atoms which are sharing a common portion, where I have drawn a dot and a cross, that is 2 electrons. So it forms a single bond with each other. Again, I have written down the equations. Chlorine plus chlorine forms Cl2, and chlorine dot, chlorine cross forms a molecule which has dot and cross in between them. When we say dot and cross representing the electrons, it is just to differentiate between two different atoms to show the movement of the electrons. Otherwise, electrons are same whether they are shown by dots or whether they are shown by cross. Now we have studied single bond formation where one pair of electron is shared. Now we will study sharing of two pairs and three pairs. Let's take the example of oxygen molecule. Formation of oxygen molecule. Oxygen has 6 electrons in its outermost shell, so it needs 2 more electrons to complete its octet. On the right side, again I have drawn two oxygen atoms sharing a common portion, where I have written the electrons, drawn the electrons, that is 2 pair of electrons. And it forms a double bond which is denoted by 2 lines. I have drawn the equation. Oxygen, this is showing the outer electron with cross, another oxygen showing the electrons with dots, and now the dot and cross structure of the molecule. In between I have drawn the electrons which are shared equally, and on the right side the electrons which are not shared. Now we come to the formation of triple bonds, that is formation of nitrogen molecule sharing 3 pairs of electrons. Each nitrogen has 5 outer electrons. It needs 3 more electrons to complete its octet. Each nitrogen atom shares 3 of its outer electrons with each other to form a triple bond, which I have written as N, 3 lines in between, and then N. Again the dot and cross structure for the nitrogen molecule. Now there are different ways of representing a molecule. You can see I have written dot and cross diagram, structural formula, and molecular formula. In dot and cross diagram, either you can draw the circles and draw the electrons in it, or as I have shown on the right side. Then the structure formula, you have to show the bonds, And the molecular formula, you have to write down their number of atoms, how they are forming a molecule. So there is one thing important which you have to note, that is atoms forming a molecule. Two atoms forming a molecule forms a diatomic molecule. There are certain points to remember. Single bond has one pair or two electrons shared. Double bond has two pairs or four electrons shared. Triple bond has three pairs or six electrons shared. Now, why I have given written these points, because in exams sometimes these questions are asked in MCQs or a very short question, how many pairs or how many electrons are shared. Your views, your comments are very important for me. Please give your comments, share my videos, and subscribe my channel. I'll be thankful to you.